Okay, bata ang pinakanta natin ng lupang hinirang, no? So, ang mga kabataan natin ang future ng bansa ito. Yon po ang ibig sabihin, mga suki, no? Tayo wala na. Okay, palso na. Itong tayo, mga pasado na 50, mga retirees, wala na, palso na po mga kababayan. Kaya bata na lang ang mga kabataan natin ng pag-asa, no? Mga apo natin, maaari mga anak natin pa. Okay, may pag-asa pa sa bayan natin ito. Tayo wala na, palso. Palso po mga kababayan. Ayan po, anong time check natin sa umagang ito, no? Sasandali lang ito muna.
Ang programa ng Special Opinion Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Ang programa ng Special Opinion Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, ang time check natin ngayon, boses ko talaga wala na. Okay, 22 minutos pasado alas 7. Okay, 23 ng October 2024 mga suki, no? So, araw po ng Miyerkules, umaga ng Miyerkules ang programa natin, no? Okay, so paalala, pero by invitation naman, no? Okay, ano ngayon National Sardines Congress. Okay, dito po sa Zamboanga, no? Mag-umpisa ngayong araw, and then hanggang 25 po mga kabayan ng October 2024, no? So, yung mga stakeholder niyan, palagay ko, ay nakaregister na po mga kababayan, no? Ayan. So, yan po ang public service natin, no? Okay, sa National Sardines Congress. Okay. Alam mo, mayaman tayo ang Zamboanga City ay capital po ng sardines ng Pilipinas, no? Kasi ang Jensen, tuna capital of the Philippines. Dito naman, sardines capital of the Philippines, no? Dito sa area po ng Ayala. Okay, sa Zamboanga Economic Zone, mga suki, no? So maraming negosyo rin. Okay, sa mga kababayan natin dito, yung mga supplier po ng tamban. Okay, magdapa-dapa po mga kababayan, no? Okay, magdapa-dapa sa salita natin ng yakan, no? Okay, malaking kwarta. Okay, ang sardines mga suki, no? Ang paggawa ng sardines. So, unahin ko magbalitang hangin tayo muna. Okay, sa programa mag-intro muna tayo. Magandang umaga. Magandang umaga. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, sa kapwa natin minority. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, no? Huwag natin pilitin ang boses ay mawala po sa ere. Ayan po mga suki, no? Ayan. So, ganun pa rin. Dito pa rin tayo sa programa Consolidated News natin kung anong mga balita natin na ipon dito. Okay? Ibabalita natin po para sa publika. Okay? Siyempre, dito rin sa platform niya, sa kanyang tahanan ADLSN TV News Online. Okay? Sa programa Halo-Halo Special, Opinion, Balita at iba pa. 13 taon na po ang programa ito, na sa kanyang 13 years foundation anniversary. Ayan po mga kababayan, and then sinamahan natin po ng nabanggit ko na bang halo-halo special opinion balita, di ba pa? And then itong serbisyo po sa serbisyo publiko tinig ng mamamayan. At saka focus natin, connection natin, ugnayan sa mamamayan. Pagitan po ng network natin. And then, sinuklian naman natin na yung pag-aruga, pag-concern po sa mga mamamayan. Ayan, so yan po ang hirit natin sa umaga ito, no? Hindi na ako paligoy-ligoy, tapusin ko muna ang balitang hangin. Okay, unahin natin. Medyo malakas ang ulan ni Christine, no? Okay. Okay, balitang hangin tayo. Si Christine. Tropical Storm Christine. Okay, si Trami naman ng international name niya. Okay, pakinggan natin ito, no? Okay, update press briefing. Okay, ng ni Christine mga suki, no? Ayan. Sige. Okay, antayin natin na umikot po ang news natin. Okay, sa balitang hangin. Ayan. Sige, huwag kayo, napaka-importante po ang balita ito, no? Okay, sa kaligtasan ng mga buhay-buhay natin po. Okay, sinalanta po ng ni Christine mga suki, no? Ayan. Okay, sige po, antayin natin talaga.
Kasalukuyan, ang layo ng sentro ng bagyo ay nasa 360 kilometers silangan ng Infanta, Quezon. Bahagyang lumakas ang bagyong Christine. Ngayon, ang lakas ng hangin na malapit sa gitna ay maabot sa 85 kilometers per hour, samantala ang pagbukso ng hangin ay nasa 105 kilometers per hour. Inaasahan na ito yung kilos west-northwestward o papalapit sa kalupaan, maaaring sa Northern Luzon sa bilis na 25 kilometers per hour. Narito ang mga lugar na sa ilalim ng tropical cyclonic signal. So nanatili pa rin buong Luzon, para sa buong Luzon at Visayas ay nasa ilalim ng tropical cyclonic signal. Signal number 2 ay nakataas sa Ilocos Norte,
A major.
Ilocos Sur, La Union,
A flat major.
Apayao,
B major.
Abra, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, Benguet, Mainland Cagayan, Isabela, Quirino. Ganun din sa Nueva Vizcaya, Aurora, Nueva Ecija, Tarlac, northern portion ng Zambales, northern portion ng Quezon, northern portion ng Bulacan, Curillo Islands, Camarines Norte, northern at eastern portion ng Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, eastern portion ng Albay, northeastern portion ng Northern Samar, at northern portion ng Eastern Samar. Dahil naman ang mga lugar na silalim ng Tropical Cyclonic Signal No. 1 ay sa Batanes, Pocoyon Islands, Pampanga, lalabing bahagi ng Zambales, Bataan, lalabing bahagi ng Bulacan, Metro Manila, Rizal, Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, lalabing bahagi ng Quezon, Occidental Mindoro, kasama ang Lubang Island, Oriental Mindoro, Marinduque, Romblon, Calamian Islands, lalabing bahagi ng Camarines Sur, lalabing bahagi ng Albay, lalabing bahagi ng Sorsogon, Masbate, kasama ang Icao at Gores Island, Calamian Islands, Aklan, Capiz, Antique, kasama ang Caluya Island, Iloilo, Ibaras, northern portion ng Negros Occidental, northern portion ng Negros Oriental, northern at central portion ng Cebu, kasama ang Bantayan at Camotes Island, Bohol, lalabing bahagi ng Eastern Samar, lalabing bahagi ng Northern Samar, Samar, Leyte, Iliran at Southern Leyte. Minasa pa rin tayo ngayon at sa mga susunod araw na malalakas o matitinding pag-ulan dahil sa bagyo. Intense hanggang torrential na pag-ulan ngayong araw sa Cagayan, Isabela, Apayao, Aurora, Quezon, Catanduanes, Camarines Norte at Camarines Sur. Heavy to intense na pag-ulan inaasahan sa lalabing bahagi ng Cagayan Valley, lalabing bahagi ng Cordillera, Ilocos Region, Rizal, Albay at Sorsogon. Moderate to heavy rains sa lalabing bahagi ng Central Luzon, lalabing bahagi ng Calabarzon, Metro Manila, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, Calamian Islands, Masbate at Northern Samar. Bukas, minaasahan pa rin na intense hanggang torrential na pag-ulan sa Pangasinan, Zambales at La Union. Heavy to intense na pag-ulan sa lalabing bahagi ng Ilocos Region, buong Cordillera at Bataan. Moderate to heavy rains sa Tarlac, Pampanga, Nueva Ecija, Bulacan, Metro Manila, Cavite, Batangas at Occidental Mindoro. Sa araw ng Biyernes, ilan ng lugar na po na makakaranas ng moderate to heavy rains ay sa Pangasinan, Zambales at La Union. Dahil dito sa mga pag-ulan, ay manatili pa rin tayo maging alerto at mag-ingat at alamin pa rin ang ligtas na lugar dahil pa rin ang banta ng pagbaha o pagbuo ng lupa. Inaasahan pa rin malalakas na hangin ngayong araw hanggang sa Biyernes. Ngayong araw, inaasahan makakaranas malalakas na hangin sa Mimaropa, Visayas at Mindanao. Bukas, inaasahan din sa Mimaropa, Bicol Region, buong Visayas, Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, Zamboanga del Norte, Danao del Sur, Northern Mindanao, Dinagat Islands, Surigao del Norte, Davao del Sur at Davao Oriental. Sa araw ng Biyernes ay asahan pa rin ng malalakas na hangin sa Mimaropa, Bicol Region, Western Visayas, Negros Occidental, Zamboanga del Norte, Basilan, Sulu at Tawi-Tawi. Dito sa ating forecast ng bagyong Christine, inaasahan pa rin natin na magla-landfall o tatama sa lupa, maaari sa Isabela o Aurora area, mamayang gabi o bukas ng madaling araw. At yung mapapansin, bagong tumama sa kalupaan ay inaasahan na magiging severe tropical storm. At bababay niya itong malaking parte ng Northern Luzon, At maaari sa pagdating sa West Philippine Sea sa araw ng Huwebes ay bahagyang hihina at na magiging tropical storm. Kapag di magbabago ang paggalaw nito o kilos, inaasahan sa pagdating ng Friday ay nasa labas na ng PAR ang bagyong St. Christine. At inyong papansin, ang lawak ng bagyong Christine na halos ay sakop ang Luzon at Visayas. At patungkol naman sa storm surge, ito yung pagtaas ng alon dulot ng bagyo. Ito sa mga coastal areas, ito sa Batanes, Babuyan, Cagayan, Isabela, Aurora, at yung Ismic Catanduanes ay nasa mataas ang alon na kung saan aabot ng 2 hanggang 3 metro. Itong napapansin yung huling dilaw, yung coastal waters, baybayang dagat, ito sa Ilocos Region, at may parte din ng Bataan Sambales ay inaasahan taas ang alon o storm surge na aabot ng halos 1 metro. Patungkol naman sa gale warning ay nag-issue tayong gale warning ngayong araw as of 5 o'clock ng umaga na ang inaasahan na taas ang alon halos 8 metro lalo po sa may northern Luzon. Ang gale warning ay nasa mga lugar po na sa ilan ng gale warning ay buong seaboard ng Luzon at buong seaboard ng Visayas. So pag may gale warning ay bawal po malaon ng ating mga kababayan, lalo po yung mga gumagamit ng maliliit na sasakyang pandagat. So ito ating update sa ating bagyong Christine. Mag-ingat po tayo at magandang umaga.
Okay, salamat. Si Aurelio ba yun? Okay, Di Aurelio. Alizar Di Aurelio. Ito sa iyo, Alizar, no? Okay, 36 minutos. Pasado na po alas 7 ang oras natin. Anong susunod na balita natin, no? Okay. Sandali lang, no?
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Okay, sunod na balita natin na itong Bangsamoro Parliament, okay, humirit naman. Okay, ibig sabihin po, humingi po ng extension mga suki naman, no? Okay, humingi naman ng extension sa kanilang termino po ay hanggang 2028. Okay, meron panukala. Okay, itong Bangsamoro Parliament, no? Miyembro po ng mga MPs. Okay, humingi po ng extension para magkaroon po sila ng pagpalawig po ng kanilang trabaho. Okay, dyan sa Parliament, no? Okay, papayag kaya ang iba dyan? Okay, palagay ko hindi na po papayag, no? Kasi marami na naghanda. Okay, para sumabak po sa election na midterm election sa 2025, no? Okay. Wala na. Okay, 6 na taon na, pakahaba na yun mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Mahaba na sa mga magagaling na pinuno. Yung 6 na taon po ay manungkulan. Mahaba na po yan. Mahaba na taon kung talagang ikaw ay magaling na pinuno, okay, mahaba na po ang 6 na taon, no? Parang term na yan ng presidente, ang 6 na taon, no? So, mas maganda, okay, submit ang sarili po sa pamagitan ng balota, no? Okay, sa midterm election, mag-election mga kababayan, no? Hindi ata papayag si Datu Teng. Okay, si Datu Teng ay mangunda dato. Okay, di po papayag sa kanang Al-Ihtihad, no? Siya kasi ang presidente ng Al-Ihtihad. Hindi ata papayag ang siyap ng Lano do Sur at saka hindi rin papalabang salam party list po ng Hulo-Sulu. At saka hindi rin nata papayag ang Bangsamoro yun Unity Party po ng hindi, Basilan Unity Party hindi rin papayag mga suki, no? Okay, mas maganda ay mag-election na para alam natin, okay, kung sino po ang susunod na liderato po ng Bangsamoro government, no? Pamagitan na ng talagang tunay na mandate. Ayan, magkaroon po ng mandato, okay, para mamuno po o miyembro ng legislative body po ng parliament. Mas mainam po magkaroon po ng mandato pamagitan po ng ballot box, no? Okay, dito sa Basilan ay dami na naghanda. Okay, naghanda na po lahat halos para mag-election po sa first Bangsamoro Parliament, no? Okay, yung mga kababayan natin dito sa Basilan handang-handa na para magkaroon po ng election. Kaya itong extension, okay, wala na yan mga suki, no? Ayan, hindi na papayag po ang itong mga minority, okay, magkaroon pa ng extension mga suki, no? 6 na taon sinabi ko, inulit-ulit ko, ay mahaba ang panahon na, no? Kung talagang ikaw ay magaling pinuno, ay the best na. Okay, dami na pong panahon ginugol mo para umupo ka sa kapangyarihan, no? Okay, so yan po ay unang salpa. Okay, unang salta po ng balita natin, no? Itong bapa pala, yung bapa, ano bapa? Okay, nila Muslimin Sema, no? Nila Romeo Sema. Kasama ata itong kasama ba si Jerry Salapudin sa bapa? Okay? Yung parte ng bapa, ano bang meaning ng bapa? Bangsamoro, anong bapa yan? Ano bang P yan? Bangsamoro Party ba yan? Ayan. Sila, pinamunuan po na nila Romeo Sema, o kaya nila Muslimin Sema po ng MNLF naman. Okay, dito sa kabila, marami ring party. O mga Mahardika, mga Progressive Party, nila Don Tlung, no? Hindi ko makuha mga eksakto ng kanilang partido. Yung mga pangalan. Pero maraming party, no? So, aprobado nata sa Comelec BARM, ang karamihan po mga accredited party na pwede po mag-put up ng kanilang kandidato dating na halalan 2025, no? So wala tayong problema dyan. Basta sa pasok sa demokrasya kahit paano mga suki, no? Okay, basta pasok sa demokrasya kahit paanong party na. Okay, papasok sa election mga suki, no? Okay, sa rights of suffrage, wala na tayong problema. Kasi idadaan po sa balota po ang pagpili ng tao, no? Okay, direct vote. O kaya party vote. Ayan po mga suki, no? O kaya popular vote. Wala tayong problema yan. Okay. So, yan po ang mga latest po nakuha natin ng balita, no? Okay, dito sa news natin. Okay, ang US pala, 14 days na lang, election na po mga kababayan, no? Okay, 14 days na lang election na sa Amerika, no? Okay, 2 linggo na lang mag-elect na bagong presidente po ng US. Okay, sana ang kandidato po ng Democrats, okay, si Kamala Harris, ay mapili bilang susunod na presidente po ng US, mga suki, no? Mas mainam yun. Okay, mainam po. Okay, kauna-unahang ata sa kasaysayan, okay, naging presidente po ng Amerika, babae po, mga suki, no? Ayan. So, yan po ang inaantabayan natin sa Nobyembre 5. Okay, election po sa Amerika, mga kababayan, na. Ayan, sandali lang.
Ang programang alis-alis sa ipinong balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, balita po galing sa Davao City. Okay, ihiling ni Inday Sara magpa-test sa drug test, no? Okay, nangunahan na po ng Davao City Representative, okay, Paulo Pulong Duterte. Okay, challenge PBB Party List, Representative Margarita Migs Nograles, to undergo a hair folic test. Okay, follicle test, no? Okay, hair follicle test. So, nandito na po sa picture si Pulong po ay magpagupit ng buhok niya. Okay, para i-test po ng drug test. Okay. Uy. Ito nga ang problema ko, no? Calling her part of the young goons of Congress, no? Calling her part of the young goons of Congress. Ayan. Okay, this came after the Duterte himself underwent the same test to prove. Ulitin ko na magkamali ang basa ko. This came after Duterte himself underwent the same test, okay, to prove he is not using illegal drugs. Okay, ang hamon na ito ay para sa ikakabuti natin lahat at mapaniguro na ang magsaserbisyo sa bayan ay malinis sa anumang bisyo o illegal na droga. Duterte said. He emphasized that even though he had already completed the test, he is prepared to take it again to reassure the public about their leader's integrity, na. Okay, Representative Pulong Duterte and Nograles are set to compete for the 1st District Representative seat in Davao City, no? Ang si Carlo Nograles po, dati po Sub-Secretary, okay, kalaban naman ni Tatay Digong, no? And then si Tatay Digong may mag-file po ng disqualification cases mo sa COMELEC, mga kababayan, no? O sa kita mo, si Pulong po, mga kababayan, ay magpakuha, babae po ang kumuha ng maggunting sa kanyang buhok, no? Ayan. Okay. Sige po, masok, no? O mas mainam yun, wala po pagdududa, no? Okay. Pati Office of the President kaya? Okay, mismo si Presidente magpa-polykel kaya? Ayan po ang katanungan natin mga kababayan, na. Okay, mas mainam yun. Klaro, okay na magpa-test po ng droga, no? Okay, kahit sa farm, mga MP sa farm ay magpapulikel mga kababayan, na. Para sigurado tayo na walang malinis na walang droga po mga suki, no? Okay. Walang hindi po sumisinghot ng droga mga MPs natin po sa farm. Lahat. Okay, magpapulikel mga suki, na. Ayan. Sige.
Ang programa ng Special Opinion Balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, ang US Secretary po, Anthony Blinken. Blinken ba o Blinken? Okay, Anthony Blinken o Blinken. Okay, nagmamadali po papunta sa bansang Israel, no? Okay, and then parang humingi kaagad po ng ceasefire. Okay, magdala ng mensahe, pamagitan ng diplomatic engagement. Okay, papunta po sa bansang Israel, no? Okay, para magkaroon po ang ceasefire itong Israel at saka mga Hamas at saka itong Hezbollah mga suki, no? Okay, napasugod kaagad. Okay, si US State Department Secretary Anthony Blinken, no? Okay. Kasi okay, ang palasyo po, ang mga bahay po ni Benjamin Netanyahu po sa Syria, okay, tinatarget po ng Hezbollah mga kababayan, no? Okay, tinamaan po ng mga drone ang mismo po ng tahanan po ng leader po ng Israel. Ibig sabihin, napakaseryoso, kayang po ang pagtugis, okay, sa leader po ng presidente po, ng prime minister po ng Israel, no? Itong si Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, pag na-target ay wala na po, babay na si Benjamin Netanyahu, no? Balik na siya sa Poland. Okay, kung magkaganon po mga kababayan, no? Balik na sa Poland, originated from Poland itong si Benjamin Netanyahu mga kababayan, no? Okay, originated from Poland. Baka uwi na siya sa Poland, no? Okay, kung hindi siya titigilan po ng itong mga drone po ng mga sophisticated kagamitan po ng Hezbollah. Okay. Matamaan ka, ma-target ka, wala na si Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, no? Okay, kaya nakakatakot. Baka isa sa mga pagsugod po ni Anthony Blinken, okay, sa Israel para magkaroon po ng immediate ceasefire, no? Nakatakot. Okay, you are not afraid. The very effective drone of the Hezbollah target okay, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, is considered very dangerous for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, no? Okay, is considered a very dangerous for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, no? Okay, kung matamaan siya ng mga drone na yan, wala na. Okay, wala na po si Benjamin Netanyahu, no? So, nakakatakot. Kung yan ang ginagamit, okay, suspect po ay ng mga drone yan, galing sa Russia, okay, galing sa mga ibang bansa, okay, napaka-sophisticated mga suki, no? Ayan. Can you imagine isang resident po ng leader ng katulad ng advance ng bansang Israel, tinamaan po ng drone. Okay, nakakatakot po. Very dangerous na yon. Okay, sa panig po ng Benjamin Netanyahu, no? Ayan. So, kung matarget yung mga kotse niya, yung sasakyan niya, o kaya aeroplano niya, wala na. Tapos na siya mga suki, no? Tapos na. Ayan. So, yan po ang medyo seryoso. Okay, problema po ng Middle East conflict, no? Okay, kasi residence ang tinitira. Okay, residence na po ang tinitira ng mga Hezbollah, mga suki, no? Ayan. Consider as a very dangerous situation, no? Okay, for the Israel official, no? Ayan. Sige.
Ang programang Halisay sa Ipinong Balita at Iba ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Lolly voice. Monster voice.
Okay, balikan natin po ang komentaryo sa BARM. Okay, sa mga BARM official, 6 na taon. Okay, nakita natin na mga... At tayo hindi naman nainggit, no? Kasi meron naman tayo mga pero hindi lang katulad sa kanila, no? Sa loob ng 6 na taon, makikita mo na maganda mga sasakyan nila. Okay, may palagay ko sa pati pera ay makaipon-ipon na rin sila mga suki sa loob ng 6 na taon, no? Okay, magandang sasakyan, maraming sasakyan, at saka palagay ko pati yung mga pera-pera ay nakaipon-ipon na rin mga sa loob ng 6 na taon, no? Okay, malaki kasi ang sweldo lang sa BARM government. Okay, buhay na buhay ka mga suki. Malaki ang salary standardization po ng BARM mga suki, no? Kumpara sa mga LGU. Kaya nga, sa loob ng 6 na taon, kahit mag-election na sila, okay, ipon-ipon na rin sila ng kanilang mga kinikita. Okay, sa pamagitan sweldo, okay, ibang mga kickback, okay, medyo okay na mga suki, no? So, bawi na yun sa paglaban nila, okay, sa revolution, ay sa umpungan, ay bawi-bawi na po mga kababayan, no? Okay, wala na problema, hindi na kung susortahin pa panalo, okay lang. Pag hindi na, bawi na rin mga suki, no? Kahit pahinga na sila, bawi na rin mga suki ang kanilang okay na ang buhay nila, pati pamilya. Okay na po ang buhay, no? Okay, mas marami pa ay ang napag-iwanan, yan po ang kawawa mga suki, no? Yung iba ay mga puti ng buhok, okay, mga wala ng ngipin, okay, galing sa revolution, wala pa rin pag-asa mga suki, no? Okay, yung mga veterano sa revolution, ay nakikita natin ay talagang kawawa, no? Pero yung mga nakaposisyon, kumpara sa mga hindi nabigyan ng pagkataon, hindi nabigyan ng posisyon, talagang kawawa. Marami nang namatay, okay, mga revolutionary, Okay, kung saan-saan. Dito sa Basilan, namatay na lang po, hindi nakatikim mga suki, na? Okay, hindi nakatikim. Namatay na lang. Pero, sa salitang yakan, nakapaglugto ba? Nakapaglugto, okay, lumaban, and then, wala. Hanggang namatay, wala din, hindi rin nakinabang mga suki, no? So, marami tayong nakakita, okay, lalo na po sa mga kabundukan natin, sa mga remote area natin, no? So, ang medyo jackpot, okay, yung nakaupo, okay, nabigyan na, 6 na taon na yung malaking bagay na yan. Malaking bagay. Buhay na sila, okay, pati pamilya nila, save na save mga suki, no? Okay, nakaipon-ipon na rin sa mga lupa, okay, nakaipon-ipon na rin sa mga bangko, okay, makaipon-ipon na rin sa property, real property, mga bahay-bahay, ang karamihan mga suki, no? Yung nabigyan ng posisyon. Hindi na lugi. Sa loob ng 6 na taon, hindi na po lugi. Ang mga revolusyonaryo, okay, yung mga sa umpungan, okay, sa mga ibang hanay po. Ang kawawa, okay, ang yon po halos minsan tumulo ang luha natin, no? Yung mga revolusyonaryo po na, okay, napag-iwanan ng panahon, okay, kawawa, ay umasa tapos wala naman po inasahan mga suki, no? Yon ang kawawa. Yung mga lumaban noon, yon mga sa mga fronta, okay, nakipagbakbakan, okay, kontra sa pamahalaan, and then hindi po nabigyan ng pagkakataon, no? Hindi ba na-compensate? Iyon po ang kawawa. So, okay, hanggang kasulukuyan po, maghikahos, maghirap pa rin, okay, walang nabagong buhay nila, no? Okay, punta ka sa mga basilan, sa kung saan-saan, okay, ganun po ang mga situation po ng mga veteran revolutionary, no? Ayan. So, nga sinabi ko, 6 na taon ay tama na po mga kababayan, no? Kailangan mag-election na tayo. Okay. Mag-election na. Sige po.
Ang programang alis na isang pinyang balita at iba ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito'y patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Yun na po ang masasabi natin compensation nila, no? Okay, compensation nila sa pag struggle nila, sa pag lugto nila mga suki, no? So, compensated na. Sige po, mga suki, mga kababayan, anong susunod ng balita? Ang BRICS, no? Okay, mag-increase po ang miyembro po ng BRICS. Naging 42 na po ang BRICS. From 37 to 42 ang BRICS nation, no? Okay, pinorm po ng mga pinangunahan ng China at saka Russia. Okay, itong BRICS nation, mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Mga BRICS nation, mayaman po sa langis. Ayan. Okay, sandali lang, tingnan natin ang BRICS, no? Ayan. Okay, punta tayo kay Professor Marandi rin. Tapos kung makahabol pa tayo ng makahabol pa tayo ng itong BRICS o kaya kay Kamala Harris, magparinig tayo kahit kunti, no? Pero itong Professor Muhammad Marandi expose Iran ignores what? Ignores. Okay, pakinggan na lang natin sa kanyang channel, mga suki, no? Okay, magaling na professor po si Professor Marandi, no? Makakuha tayo ng information sa kanya. Ayan.
Has shown the public that we tried. But these people are not reasonable. These people, they will support bombing our embassies. They'll support bombing, killing our guests. They lied about the ceasefire. So when President Pezeshkian speaks about rapprochement and the West slaps him in the face, then that only strengthens his hand when he tells people, I tried, but it was useless, and therefore we have to be steadfast against that. It only strengthens his position when he strengthens ties with Russia and China, because people say, well, he tried with the West, and the West did the same thing that they did to the previous president, Dr. Raisi, and that was nothing. So today he will have talks with President Putin or he's having talks with President Putin in Turkmenistan, and I think that the behavior of the West will only help push forward the relationship between Russia and Iran further. And I think in the upcoming talks in Kazan between the BRICS heads of state, that will also, what we're seeing in Palestine, and the behavior that the Europeans and the West and the United States have shown towards Iran, will also help President Pezeshkian or encourage President Pezeshkian and justify President Pezeshkian when he enhances relations with BRICS member states, including China and Russia, among others.
Just to wrap up this session, do you think that for Iran, does it matter who's going to win in 2024 presidential election? We know that how they're trying to manipulate everything. They're trying to say that Iran is behind the assassination of Donald Trump, these attempts that they want to assassinate Donald Trump. But at the end of the day, when you look at the way that Iran is thinking of the domestic and foreign policy of the United States, it doesn't matter who's going to be in power in the United States.
No, not at all. After what Biden and Harris effectively have done and said over Gaza and Lebanon and Syria and Yemen, I think it's become clear to everyone that Trump is no different. Trump may bark louder, but when after Trump murdered General Soleimani, who led the fight against ISIS and Al-Qaeda, after he threatened Iran if Iran struck back, and Iran destroyed the U.S. Al-Assad air base in Iraq, and Iran destroyed U.S. facilities there, and Trump did not respond. And I think that showed that Trump knew that the Iranians were dead serious. I don't think that there would be any major difference between Trump and Harris. Both support the genocide. Trump would probably be worse for the United States because he would, in certain respects, because many countries across the world, many governments don't like him, including the Europeans, and he is a very divisive figure inside the United States. So there could be more internal difficulties for the United States and difficulties with the allies. I don't think Trump will be able to bring about an end to the war in Ukraine either, because the Russians have made too many sacrifices for them to give Trump any serious concessions. And if Trump gives Russia what it demands, then he will be seen as humiliated and weak. So I don't see any real difference between the two, and probably Trump will be worse for the United States than Harris, although both of them are pretty awful anyway.
Thank you so much for being with us today, and great pleasure as always talking with you.
Quell the resistance in the West Bank and to take Gaza. So the longer this lasts, the more difficult it is going to be for Netanyahu. And that is why Netanyahu wants to escalate with Iran and bring Iran in. But by doing that, we don't know, A, if the Americans are willing to do the crazy thing and enter the war and devastate the global economy. And B, it is only going to destabilize the region further. If the United States attacks Iran and Iran strikes the infrastructure of those countries, those regimes that host U.S. bases, those regimes will fall, and so will all the regimes in the region. It will, not only will tens of millions of people be on the move, but also those regimes will change. And then how will that affect Israelis who have surrounded them with pro-American dictatorships? If those regimes are swept away, what happens to the security of Israel's borders? So the
Female
longer
voice,
this goes on,
male voice,
the worse it becomes
lolly
for Israel.
voice,
This is indeed,
monster voice.
as the Chinese say, death by 1,000 cuts. So they can keep massacring and pretend, and every now and then kill a Hezbollah officer or a Hamas commander, but it's not going to change anything.
Yeah. If you look at this further here, it's an Israeli finance minister with a map at the podium. You look at this map. If you may wonder what does it mean, it means Palestine, Jordan, it goes to Saudi Arabia, to Syria. Do you think when these Arab states look at this map, does it concern them? Because at the end of the day, it's so dangerous, the concept of Greater Israel. And they have to think to find a permanent solution for the conflict in Gaza. But it doesn't seem that they're getting to that level of seriousness when it comes to Israel and its behavior.
Well, I think these Arab regimes, what they've done, their elites, is that they're taking as much money as they can, and probably when the time comes, they'll be the first to leave the country, and they'll reside in the United States. So I don't think they are going to do anything about this. They will continue to, the current regimes will continue to close their eyes to reality for as long as they can keep their eyes closed. However, what this shows to the people of the region is that the Israeli regime is a colony that wants to continue to expand, and they are expanding as we speak. They are taking more land in Al-Quds or Jerusalem. They are taking more land in the West Bank. This has nothing to do with Gaza, but the land grab continues, and it has increased in pace over the last few years. So they have ambitions over Lebanon. And they only, by exposing themselves like this, they only legitimize Hezbollah's actions even more. Because Hezbollah, not only is it showing its moral response, that it's morally bound to protecting the Palestinian people, but it's also showing that the people across the world that Hezbollah is also defending itself. Because it has to be strong in order to protect Lebanese territory. We know that the United States will never allow, and the West will never allow, Lebanon to be strong. Lebanon has no air force. Lebanon has no anti-aircraft defense capability. Why? Because it's not allowed. The United States simply will not allow it to happen. Neither will Europe. Why? Because they want to make sure that the Israeli regime can bomb and attack and invade Lebanon whenever it wants. The same is true with Jordan. The same is true with Syria. The whole dirty war in Syria, against Syria, was to overthrow the government so that Israel will no longer feel that it's threatened by a powerful neighbor or an alliance neighbors that are a part of the axis of resistance. So again, I think that this shows the stupidity of the Israeli regime. That these maps, these statements show that the Israelis, contrary to what the Americans have always been saying, and the Europeans, contrary to what the Europeans have always been saying, that the Israelis know the region well. The Israelis don't know the region well, because if they did, if they were smart, they wouldn't be continuing this genocidal war. They wouldn't allow their ministers to be making these statements and to print these maps. This war would have, if they were smart, if the Israeli regime was smart, if it was genocidal and smart, they would have bombed Gaza for a month after October the 7th, and they would have gone on with the lies about beheadings and rapes and all that, and the Western media, of course, would have gone with that, and then they would have ended the war and said, okay, we punished Hamas, and it's over. Those lies about rapes and beheadings would have remained intact. They could have scored let's say, a political victory in the eyes of, with the help of Western media and Western propaganda, but they went on and on and on with this genocide. And now everything is coming out. People are learning more and more about Zionism, about Israel, about the history, about the ambitions of this colony. And so, again, I think the Israelis are themselves helping to bring, and Netanyahu, I think, is the greatest enemy of the Israeli regime, because I think he is the one, despite all the genocide, he is the one who is going to ultimately cause the regime to collapse. It may not collapse in 6 months or a year, but I think we are in the dying period of Zionism in our part of the world. Their behavior, whether it's Western media, whether it's Western officials, but it doesn't work like that anymore. So when people see Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, the West Bank, and then now the regime wants to bomb Iran after striking Iran's embassy and assassinating people in Tehran, it only makes the Israeli regime look even more lawless and dangerous and reckless. But the fact is that all of Iran's strategic assets are deep underground. And it's not because of the Israeli regime. The Israeli regime is not a strong regime. It's weak. Its power comes from the United States and the West. Otherwise, if they cut their support, the regime would collapse almost immediately. But still, even with all that support, the Israeli regime does not have the capabilities of the United States. The Iranians built all of its key assets, its vulnerable assets like nuclear program, key military installations, or key weapons. They put them deep underground to protect them from American airstrikes. Because ever since the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan and the occupation of these two countries, the Iranians have been preparing themselves for a potential war with the United States, an invasion by the United States, because the United States has invaded and destroyed country after country, whether it's Iraq and Afghanistan, or Syria and Libya, or Yemen, or elsewhere. The Iranians know that they have to create a deterrence. So they protected most of their key assets in a way in which the United States cannot destroy them through conventional means. The Americans could do some damage to the nuclear program. Installations that are accessible, but those aren't really that important. They can damage certain components of factories that build missiles and drones, but they're not really that important. All the key elements of the peaceful nuclear program or Iran's weapons industry, they're all deep underground. So that, I think, is important to keep in mind. Second, the former Iranian foreign minister, during the Khatami administration. He is an advisor to the leader. On 2 occasions in the last year, and I should be careful, because I'm paraphrasing, but he spoke about the possibility of Iran changing its nuclear posture. And that would come about under the circumstances where Iran is threatened with a nuclear weapon, or perhaps Iran's nuclear capabilities, peaceful nuclear capabilities, are threatened seriously. So the Israelis could, even though they cannot seriously damage the nuclear program, but they could cause Iran to change its nuclear posture. And that would mean leaving the NPT and perhaps moving in the direction of producing a nuclear weapon. And Iran is a threshold state. Iran is one of the 10 to 12 countries that have the most advanced nuclear program. Technologically speaking, for Iran, it would take a very short period of time. Iran has always said that it could have produced a nuclear weapon many years ago if it wanted to. So today it would be very simple for Iran to do so. So the Israeli regime basically, if they do strike Iran's nuclear program, they would be giving Iran an excuse to change its position. And as I said, if it attacks Iran's other military capabilities, it won't really have an impact, or a serious impact. They could go for Iran's oil and gas facilities, its refineries, its electrical power plants, and they could cause damage. But Iran has gone through 8 years of war with Iraq, and Iran has experienced decades of sanctions. They will be able to overcome. But what Iran will do in response is, I think, far more consequential for the Israeli regime. The Iranians have already said, as you know, during its previous missile strike, that if the Israeli regime strikes Iran, the Iranian response will be much harder, and that it will destroy or target Israel's key infrastructure. And the Israeli regime is a small regime. It has a small population. Half the population is Palestinian, which is subjugated, is being suppressed and controlled and killed by the regime. So if Iran harms Israel in a significant way, it will have huge implications for it being able to manage itself. And especially since the people in the surrounding countries are very hostile to the regime. Even in Jordan, people hate Israel. It's only the king. Jordan, people hate Israel. It's only the king of Jordan that is an ally of the regime, and it's because the Americans have kept him in power. But if the regime is weakened, if people see the regime as being weak, then that will encourage them to rise up and to resist against the regime. So I don't think an exchange with Iran would be to the benefit of Israel. I think it would be detrimental to Israel. And then, of course, when Iran responds, Israel will strike again. And Iran will strike again even harsher, because Iran has a very large missile underground.
Okay, cut muna natin ito, no? Okay, cut muna natin ito kasi oras ay wala na. Ayan. Sandali lang.
Ang programang Holisay sa ipin ng balita at iba ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito ay patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, pupunta ko muna kay Kamala Harris, no? Okay, singit natin ito. Okay, kasi sabi rito ay ang Georgia early voting has started now. It's the time to act. Make your plan, okay, to vote and encourage your friend and family to go the same. Okay, ibig sabihin makaboto mga suki, no? Eh, pwede ba natin mapakinggan ito? Okay. Ayan po mga suki. Ang problema po ay hindi po binigyan ng sound nata ito, no? Okay. Meron ba?
Types, munition types, which would give the Iranians invaluable
Wala.
intelligence on how the Israelis plan to attack. If you know the weapon, you know the range of the weapon, you know the attack profile, so you know the aircraft, you can.
Okay, wala na po. Hindi na kuwan, no? Okay. Hindi na po makasukuhan natin, no? Itong boses po ni Kamala Harris. Okay. Sige po, wala tayong magawa. Okay. Wala talaga. Sige, sandali lang. Okay, papunta tayo ng BRICS, Stronger Boys. Sabi po rito mga suki, no? Okay, BRICS Nation, BRICS with the Stronger Boys. Okay, miyembro po ng BRICS Nation, no?
Hello and welcome to this dialogue special edition, BRICS with a Stronger Voice. Russia is the host of the first ever summit of a great BRICS in Kazan, the capital of the Russian Republic of Tatarstan. With 10 members, Great BRICS currently accounts for around 32% of the global output of natural gas and 43% of crude oil, and has surpassed the G7 in terms of GDP, and more than 30 countries have expressed interest in joining.
Ayan. Okay, biglang naputol po ang mga suki, no? Okay, ang BRICS. Ayan. Okay, ulit natin ang BRICS, no?
And more than 30 countries have expressed interest in joining the bloc. What will top the agenda at this year's summit? Why is the bloc becoming so popular? With its growing popularity and influence, is the organization shaping up to be a serious contender to the Western-dominated international order? Join me for our discussion today from Beijing. I'm Xu Jianduo.
Not only the right of each country to choose its way of development, but respect also its political system, its culture.
These new members can really amplify the voice of the global south.
In nature.
BRICS is not an anti-Western organization.
It will put Western institutions
Female
in their
voice,
proper perspective.
male voice,
China is
lolly
actually
voice,
leading the way
monster
in making
voice.
possible for the rest of the world. The future is BRICS.
The future is BRIC.
Joining me today are Wang Huiyao, President, Center for China and Globalization. Welcome, Huiyao. And Andrei Kortunov, Academic Director of the Russian International Affairs Council. Professor Radka Desai, Department of Political Studies, University of Manitoba. Arina Marisa, Senior Researcher at Institute for Global Dialogue. And Professor Nurhan El-Sheikh, International Relations, Cairo University. Ibrahim Hashem, China-based strategist and scholar. Welcome to the show. Well, we are having this expanded grouping of BRICS. Andrew, I will start with you. And so what does that mean for this group, and what are the top agenda for this year's summit with this expanded grouping?
So let me start with saying that this is a very special event for the Russian Federation. Not only because it's the first summit after the BRICS enlargement, but also because, as we know, Russia is now under very strong pressure from the West, which is trying to isolate Moscow in the international system. So it is very important for President Putin and for the Kremlin to host a large-scale event in Russia this year. And it seems that we are going to have a couple of dozen of state leaders, not only from the BRIC member states, both old and new, but also from partner countries and from international organizations. As far as the agenda is concerned, the agenda is quite diverse, and I have to say that Russia did its homework, arranging many ministerials and other governmental meetings in order to elaborate special items of the agenda. And that includes the finance issues. Russia is particularly concerned about what it calls de-dollarization of the international financial system. Hopefully some first steps will be made there. Russia is also pushing for the energy dimension, including both energy markets and managing the green transition. And of course, there will be also an important security dimension to the summit in Kazan, and that will include probably joint efforts to counter international terrorism, maybe some issues of soft security. So the agenda is quite broad and quite diverse, but I'm sure that a lot of materials, a lot of documents that are supposed to be signed in Kazan are already in the pipeline.
Okay, a lot of expectation there. We'll touch upon the content later on, but let's focus on the integration, the new members a little bit. Professor Nurhan, over 30 countries have expressed interest or have applied for to become part of BRICS grouping. What explains this kind of increasing interest, especially from developing countries here?
Actually, BRICS introduce opportunities for global south in general. Fair, win-win situation. So I think that BRICS fulfill the demands or the aspirations of global south for independent way in development. Because actually our experience in global south in general and dealing with the West, particularly in IMF and World Bank, etc., was not that much good. And even the economic relation, bilateral economic relation, was not that fair enough for global south. That's why BRICS now very attractive because it introduces opportunities. It deals with the global south as equal and as much fair as they can. So I think it's very attractive. It's like, some kind of a revolution over the old system, old economic world system, which is dominated only by the United States. No one has enough opportunities, even the big economies. So BRICS now have a good reputation and very attractive. It leads a huge movement and very important movement toward a new world order, economic one, more fair, more balanced, and have a place and opportunities for all.
Something to look forward to. Rena, from where you are, so you also see similar aspiration to see something new, probably reforms or adjustment of the international order to make it more equitable, fairer probably?
Absolutely. So when you consider BRICS, I mean, BRICS is an optimistic collaborator but a fervent competitor. And so for me, two major questions are arising this year. Of course, the modalities of expansion, but also, more importantly, the second question is intertwined and how it's related to the first. And it's the impact on payments, the structure and flow of money, and pursuing global economic reform. These are incredibly important to the global south, and yes, for many, the BRICS offers hope and change. A lot of BRICS watchers are asking if the BRICS are going to expand again to make more opportunities available. I suppose in this sense, it's important to consider practical considerations and how other avenues can be open for partnership, like joining the New Development Bank if that's open. I think for that is possibly a fantastic litmus test for what BRICS expansion and practical expansion, what that could possibly look like. And we have respective ministries of finance and the bank collaborating quite closely, and there's a need for significant improvement in procurement policies in order to engage in the country systems that the New Development Bank offers. So here you're starting to see a very nuanced way in which the BRICS wants to offer possibility, in which others want to hopefully engage the bank on hopefully loans that can be engaged in local currencies. I mean, that is a fantastic addition to what the BRICS can offer. But again, it's about membership, and if you're able to access that membership, it's important.
It's important, the membership. We also noticed, of course, this year, the BRICS group has said that they will stop for a while in accepting new members. So probably for better integration. So I guess there are, it's a process. It takes time to integrate the new members in terms of, for example, probably principles or consensus. You have new members, you have different voices, and that need to be dealt with, right?
Well, absolutely. Personally, I still have some recommendation for the BRICS countries to have. First, I think that we should really probably institutionalize the BRICS, and of course we have a new development bank. Of course, China also initiated the AIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. But
ito po ang pasingit ko lang ito. Okay, mga suki, no? Ayon ba dito sa Bangsamoro Parliament ay humihiling ng pagpalawig sa transition period hanggang 2028 mga suki, no? Okay, ipagpatuloy ng Bangsamoro Parliament ang isang resolution na humihiling sa mababang kapulungan at Senado na palawigin ang transition period mula 2025 hanggang 2028, no? Nilalayon nitong pagpaliban ang kauna-unahang regular na parlamentaryo eleksyon ng rehiyon. Okay, nakatakda sana sa 2025 upang mabigyan daan ang mas maayos na paghanda ng lahat ng stakeholder para sa isang maayos na demokratikong transition. Yun na nga, 6 na taon, napakahaba na po ng panahon, no? Ayan. Napakahaba na ng panahon. Ayan. So, ewan lang mga suki, no? Okay. Ano ang ibig sabihin nito, no? Ako nagtataka rin ako rito, no? Okay, for transparency, I did not know that Meta paid me something like $7, no? For a subscription, and start until I receive an email. Thank you to those who send star and to those who subscribe. Like I said, I do not want money from my work, since this will be paid out until it reaches the minimum payment amount of $100. This will surely go to my favorite foundation, this Cancer Foundation, if it is reaches that amount. Ayan po mga suki, no? So, okay, naka-recom na siya ng $700, no? Okay, kailangan makaabot po ng $100 bago po ma-claim mo ang pera mo sa Meta. Facebook po ito mga suki, no? Okay. Sige. Naku, naban po ang page na ito, no? Ayan. Yan po ang problema sa Meta. Okay, ban ng mga page po mga suki, no? Okay, salamat sa akin na ibalik. Okay, sa kanyang ika-13th anniversary, hirap ako mag-restore po ng page ko, no? Okay, sige. Ayan.
Ang programang alis-alis sa ipinong balita at iba pa ay tumatalakay sa mga isyu pang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Mapapolitika, mapaopinyon, mapakomentaryo at balita, ang programa ito'y patas sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang pinapanigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, pagpatuloy natin ang BRICS. Okay, para maintindihan natin, no? Ayan.
Let's focus on making the BRICS infrastructure on back. And also, should we have a secretary office of some kind? I mean, also, let's implement more free trade agreement among the BRICS countries. There's a huge imbalance. The countries, there's 40, 50 bilateral relations among the BRICS countries. There's only 20% probably have FTA or 10-20%. Very small number. That's really large. I mean, let's really give the benefit to the BRICS countries, and then let's really have also all the let's experiment payment system. We're not talking about de-dollarization, but let's really try to enlarge other payment system, digital payment and all the other new experiments. So BRICS, these countries platform can really be used as incubating ground, a new platform experiment, but also for the development of the global south. So for the first time in the history of mankind, majority of the world population global south. now have an organization of its own, have a platform of its own, have a say of its own, and then can make a decision on its own. And also, a good example, I mean, we have different systems, governance system, as we previously mentioned. But if we can all work together with different systems, that's also ushering a new area which can coexist peacefully, even though we have different systems. So BRICS has many new roles to play, new grounds to break, and new roles to set up. So we have a lot of things to accomplish, and we have a lot of things to do.
Radical, can the current system, current practice, or mechanism inside BRICS cope with this expansion, with this, more members, probably the future membership of more countries there?
I think it can. I think that various people have mentioned what I would call many of the push factors, that is to say all the reasons why the existing structures of the world system are not working, the inherited legacy institutions are not working, so that is pushing various countries towards the BRICS. But there is also the pull factor, and I think the pull factor is that the BRICS not only represents a positive example of a very different way of doing things, of mutuality, of cooperation, but there is also the enormous economic gravity exerted by China. So I think that, as most people here will know, China has become more and more the most important economic partner for the majority of the countries in the world. So that's going to attract BRICS. And I would say that precisely because the attraction of the BRICS is based on both the pull factor and the push factor, inevitably this stance of balancing or multi-alignment, etc., will probably be redefined into a closer alignment with China and Russia and so on, because the reason it's happening is that the West has so little to offer. What the West is offering now is only greater subordination, greater punishment, greater exploitation. And I think that the BRICS countries are trying to evolve new forms of economic governance which distance themselves from those phenomena which are becoming more and more accentuated. So I would say that, to answer directly your question, I think that in the long run, the further integration of more and more countries is practically assured.
Picking up on that, let's take a look at the role, to be played or being played by the BRICS group. And we go back to you, of course, the Russian Finance Minister, Anton Sulovanov, pointed out the share of global GDP of BRICS countries has reached more than 36%, and their economic growth is much faster than G7 countries. But then here's the question, in what way, how can they play a role that is proportionate to their economic weight in today's economic system?
The first BRICS summit took place back in 2009, and at that point it was probably not much more than a club of non-Western countries. But over time it emerged into something very different from a club. It is trying to operationalize its activities. It has associated or affiliated bodies like the New Development Bank. And I think that this summit will be a test about how far BRICS can go in turning itself into a global laboratory for new forms of multilateral cooperation. Indeed, there is a lot of talk of multilateralism these days, but if you look at most of Western multilateral institutions, you can probably call them quasi-multilateral because there is a very clear hegemonic power behind most of them. This hegemonic role can be benign or not so benign, but there is a lot of hierarchies in the world. I think the BRICS group is different in the sense that there is no clear